Welcome to the SecureWorld Sessions. We're a cybersecurity podcast that is all about access. Access to people and ideas that can impact your personal cybersecurity career and help you secure your organization. Hi, my name is Bruce Sussman, and I'm Director of Content at SecureWorld and your podcast host. And also a quick shout out to Trend Micro for being the premier podcast sponsor for this episode. Now, in today's session, we're starting with a scenario to ponder, which is directly linked to our featured interview. It's a Tuesday, and you're driving to work. You spend a lot of time traveling this route, but it definitely got more fun when you bought this new car with cruise control powered by AI. And in certain situations, you can use your favorite feature, autonomous mode. In fact, it's on right now, and you have your day planner out. You're scribbling a to-do list when suddenly this happens.
What the heck? What kind of alert is that again? Is that for the engine?
And then your vehicle tells you what the problem is.
Your car has been hacked. Your data and life could be at risk. Your car has been hacked.
Or maybe it says this.
Car hacked. Pull over. Car hacked. Pull over.
Or perhaps something else altogether. And if your connected car is hacked, what do you want it to do next? Will you have control? Some third party in the cloud? How do we solve this problem? Well, that's the focus of new work by Kristie Pfosi, who's Senior Manager of Automotive Cybersecurity at Mitsubishi Electric. She is highly respected in automotive security circles, and I had the chance to interview her at SecureWorld Detroit. This was after a co-presentation with Quinn DeVries, who is the UX intern for advanced development at the company. You're going to hear from both of them. And at one point in their research, they actually put drivers behind the wheel and watched them experience a simulated cyber attack. This is fascinating stuff. Let's go to the 15th annual SecureWorld Detroit now for the interview.
Yeah, we wanted to know, when the consumer sits in the driver's seat of their next car, what part of that experience in the cabin of the vehicle makes them feel safe? Is it some sort of the screens that are available or not available? Is it the technology that's in the car? Is it because the car is expensive? Do they equate it similar to a safety feature where the bigger the car is, considered to be more safe? Do you feel cybersecurity aligns with that? Do you feel more secure in an SUV than a different, than a base model car? Do you equate it with luxury? Do you expect a luxury brand to have more cybersecurity than an economy level vehicle? That's the kind of things we were trying to solicit out is if you were shopping for the most cyber secure vehicle on the market today, what leads you to that path and how do you come up with that answer, and what are the factors that drive that? Is it, do you paid $90,000 for it? It should be the most cyber secure on the market,
right.
That's what we were looking at.
It should be something at $90,000, right?
Yeah.
So that was the first part of the study. Then the second part of the study was a usability study where we put the person in the car and triggered a simulated cyber attack to see what they did and see how those answers varied from our survey results.
Wow, that's fascinating. Okay, well, let's unpack the first part. So what consumers want or expect. Were there any trends? I mean, I'm even wondering, is this on people's radar really too much right now, or what do you think?
Well, that's what we started with, is trying to understand the perception, and then, from there kind of see, what would drive them to make a purchase based on cybersecurity, right? From a couple of different angles. But from the vehicle side of it, we kind of saw that there were similar alignments to both safety and quality, right? So brands and country of origin for manufacturers, they, have certain reputations in the industry of being better quality products or being, making safer products, bigger vehicles, safer products. Maybe Japanese and European brands have a better reputation for quality. And we kind of saw an alignment along each one of those vectors from a cybersecurity perspective. But overall, a lot of it, the consumer is actually very knowledgeable, and that they felt like a lot of it was kind of agnostic, right? That a sedan should be just as secure as a SUV. There was maybe a little bit of picking on the pickup truck, that maybe the pickup truck is not the most cyber secure vehicle out there. And then we also looked at, the in-cab look and feel, right? If you have, a 17-inch screen like in the Tesla, does that make you feel cyber secure? Because they've put in a lot of effort to build out that content, and it's really high-end, and therefore cybersecurity kind of goes along with that. Those two are delivered hand in hand. Or is there more of a perception that, simpler is better, less electronics is better,
And did
less
you find
opportunity?
anything on that, actually?
Yeah, so along the lines of like less electronics, definitely the physical button gave users more comfort in cybersecurity versus the touchscreen. But it was interesting the contrast between that and the usability study, where in the usability study, most participants actually preferred the screen just because they were used to that technology.
For sure, yeah, you want the ease of use, but that old-fashioned stuff must be, we've used it a long time. Let's hit the actual button.
Yeah, we have a lot of confidence in its capability.
Yes,
right?
I could see that. Okay, cool. Let's talk about the usability. What kinds of things did you ask? Maybe give us an example, and what was an interesting result?
Yeah, so the things that I looked at were things in the car. So what kind of icon would you prefer if your car was being cyber attacked? How would you want to be informed? Is it a different message? And then, of course, what do you do about it? So one of the interesting findings was with the disconnect feature. So we looked at a switch and a dial of different varying degrees of disconnectivity.
And this is where you're disconnecting from whatever it is, the cloud or whatever is controlling your car?
Right, yeah, maybe a cellular attack or whatever on your vehicle. So there's a lot of legislation in the space towards adding intrusion detection to the vehicle. And there's been a lot of hesitancy on the OEM side of, okay, if we can add the technology that we've detected an intrusion or some sort of, malicious activity on the vehicle, but then what?
Right.
Like, what's the so what part of that? What do I do with that information? It's not, what model should we be representing? And is that something that we expect the consumer to do something and take some sort of action? Are they expecting the OEM to do something? Do you want to get a phone call? Do you want your vehicle to make a decision for you and you just, just follow along with whatever it's decided to do? Do you trust that?
Wow.
So that's really what we're kind of exploring is like, okay, if we do add this type of technology into our vehicle, realistically, the driver should be that first line of defense, right? When we looked at, does the driver even want to know they've been hacked, right? And what kind of reaction do they have to that?
I mean, imagine those of us who talk security all the time, we might be like, oh, it's okay, what do we do? But if you're just like a soccer mom or like a stay-at-home dad or whatever, you're driving around and all of a sudden the light comes on and your kids are in the back, what are you doing then? I could see that uncertainty.
Right, yeah, and so, from the auto industry building out these incident response plans and how do we interact with the consumer and stuff, it's all fine to do on paper, but no one's really asked the consumer to date, what do you want us to do? And that's really what we were trying to solicit with Quinn's survey, is try to figure out, do you want us to call you? Do you even want to know that you've been hacked? Do you, expect to take some sort of action? Do you want to have control in that situation, or do you want to give that control to somebody else to keep you safe?
Okay, and Quinn, I know you said a physical button was a preference, it seemed like, as far as feeling cyber secure. What about the alert, and what did consumers say they wanted? Did they want to be that first line of defense?
So they did want to be that first line of defense. They wanted to have that autonomy of being able to take the action themselves. So the alert would look something like a red flashing icon. On their instrument cluster, they'd get more information. It'd be a unique tone, something not related to pre-existing sounds in the car or mobile alerts. And then from there, they could make the decision of, are they going to disconnect? Are they not going to disconnect? But then it was also interesting that they wanted that call from the third party in order to kind of provide that human element of, hey, somebody's watching out for you. We are aware of this. Following
that financial institution model, right, when your data's been breached, your credit card gets stolen, whatever, that you get that phone call that you can interact with the person, ask questions, get clarification, right? So instead of maybe just reacting to the red blinking light and knowing to go to the dealership, now you have someone to interact with and say, am I the only one? Is it this area? Is it everybody? Is it all makes and models? Is there a nation state attack? It gives you that kind of reassurance of what is actually happening to be able to take some sort of action. But in the end, I think that the end result from most OEMs incident response models would be to take the car to the dealership. So that, trust model might change over time, but that's kind of the initial to increase consumer awareness and comfort with understanding what that icon means and what sort of action they need to do to protect themselves.
We have some specific results from their research, and we'll also talk about the general state of cybersecurity in the auto industry. Plus, how you might consider this research as a tool for your security team, regardless of industry vertical. That is coming up. Now, I want to take a minute and share what Trend Micro's zero-day initiative is doing around making our connected future more secure. The zero-day initiative is the world's largest vendor-agnostic bug bounty program. And with that in mind, let's take a look at today's Trend Micro Top 3. Number 1, Trend Micro's ZDI runs multiple pwn-to-own events where they include automotive manufacturers and critical infrastructure vendors to ensure they can responsibly disclose new vulnerabilities. That increases the safety of those who use these devices. That's really cool stuff. Number 2, malicious actors will take advantage of new connected vehicles for a number of reasons. Extortion will be one significant reason, and disruption will be another one. And number 3, manufacturers need to adopt a security mindset from the idea phase all the way through to end of life to ensure safety of vehicles and their users. By the way, the most recent competition just wrapped up at Pwn-to-Own Miami. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes. Trend Micro and the Zero Day Initiative made some cool videos of the researchers who collected 10, 20, even 25 grand a day in that competition. Again, that link is in the show notes. And thanks again to Trend Micro for being our premier podcast partner. Now, let's continue with our topic on hacking cars and the research done by Kristie Pfosi and Quinn DeVries at Mitsubishi Electric. What are the hacking concerns of customers? Well, the research found that 9% share my fear that hackers could take control of my car while driving and force me to crash. But 10% are worried that hackers could require a ransom before they can start their car. And the highest percentage goes to 19% when customers are worried that hackers might track and control their GPS. Or also at 19%, maybe hackers will steal their vehicle by copying the car key's remote signal. And of course, you've probably seen YouTube videos already on that last one because it's happening in isolated cases. Now, let's go back to SecureWorld Detroit for the rest of our interview.
I'm glad that you decided to ask these questions. And Kristie, I'm just wondering, as you look at your time in this industry and in cybersecurity, where are we strongest and where do we still need to do a lot of work, would you say, as far as, autonomous or connected vehicles?
Yeah, I think we've done a lot of work to try to build out processes, right? We started to implement security by design in the security design lifecycle and try to, implement it from the beginning. We've identified and we've got, across the board agreement that security is not a bolt-on at the end, right? It's similar to safety, it's similar to quality, it's got to be inbred into the way that we design and develop our products. I think the biggest hurdle to that is that's a huge already existing workforce that needs to be well educated on cybersecurity. You can't rely on a team of cybersecurity experts to implement that on every single product that you have. You need to use that team to educate your already existing engineers so that they make smart design choices throughout their entire development to really breed in that cybersecurity in a way that we have seen for safety and with quality. So the auto industry has seen these major culture upheavals, right, of safety is everyone's responsibility. There's been a big push for that. It kind of might have taken the auto industry a little longer than everyone was necessarily comfortable with to really adopt that model. But we've done it before. We've learned a lot from it. So now cybersecurity's got to follow in those same footsteps, but hard and fast.
Right, it's time. Yeah, very good, very good. Quinn, was there anything else you wanted to add that stood out to you in your research?
Yeah, through this study, it was really interesting how, from a UX standpoint, how security itself is lacking the human element of it. So you think about a simple example of password security and people using the same password for multiple accounts, let's say. We're as humans lazy, and we want that convenience, but from a security standpoint, that's obviously not best practices. So I think it's really interesting to add that human element and to examine it from like both a behavioral and learning standpoint of how do you change that behavior overall, and that kind of translates throughout the whole security ecosystem.
Yeah, for sure. Not just automotive, but you're absolutely right about that. Well, thank you both very much, and thanks for being a part of SecureWorld. And one last question for you, Kristie. Why is it you believe in collaboration? Because, I know you have a lot to do, right? And like you said, we need to go hard and fast at this problem, but yet here you are talking about it at a security conference and collaborating with your peers. Why is that valuable to you?
Yeah, through organizations like the Auto ISAC, which is really a consortium across OEMs, Tier 1 and 2s, and the rest of the vehicle ecosystem, we've really kind of tried to inbreed this concept of collaboration for cybersecurity, and that really is almost in response to what our adversaries are doing. Hackers are free and willing to share all of the information that they've, accomplished, and it's publicly available on internet sites and through, normal postings. And if we can't expect as individual organizations to be able to track and follow all of that and stay ahead of it by ourselves. And so if we can learn from other people and the industry and the products that they've made and launched to market, or threats that they've had against their products, so that we can collectively respond and build up the entire ecosystem into a cyber secure platform against our adversaries, the only way to do that is through collaboration and working together.
Well, thank you to Kristie and Quinn so much for sharing their unique insights. It's interesting to think about, what do car buying customers want or expect around cybersecurity, and how should manufacturers communicate that? And it also makes me wonder, who are the customers of your cybersecurity team? Whether we're talking internal, external, executive, whatever. Have you done any research on what they want from you, from the security team, and how they would like it communicated? It's an interesting way to look at our roles within security. And speaking of that, let us know what you want from our podcast, or share any feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Our address is media@secureworldexpo.com. That's media@secureworldexpo.com. Also, I mentioned SecureWorld Detroit today in our episode, but it's actually just one of our 17 regional cybersecurity conferences that happen each year across North America. And we've confirmed all of the dates for this year. So I'll put a link to those in the show notes. Check it out and see which one is closest to you. Now, let's talk about next time. We are interviewing experts about the two faces of artificial intelligence. Is AI like Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader? It may be both, unless we plan for what is ahead. That's next week. Now, a couple of quick thank yous. Thank you to our SecureWorld team members who made cameos in today's episode. That includes Lauren from our operations team, Carrie from our programs team, and Marcia from the sales team. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our editor, Pete, who does such a fantastic job every week. I love the way he weaves everything together, so thank you for that. And thank you for listening. Whether you're shuttling the kids to and from practice or just doing the dishes, you are a really important part of SecureWorld's mission, which is connecting, informing, and developing leaders in cybersecurity. So on behalf of the SecureWorld team, I'm Bruce Sussman, your host of the SecureWorld Sessions, and let's catch up again on the next episode.